order at this time. I guess the first thing on the agenda is pledge allegiance to Daniel. You need to pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You have before you copies of the minutes of the November 9th, 2015 regular meeting and December 1st, 2015 special call emergency meeting before you in your packet. I would ask that we approve the minutes at this time. You, as I said, the minutes are included in your packet. So the motion by Commissioner Daniel. Second by Commissioner Adams. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The special call meeting, the emergency meeting that we called on December the 1st, if you remember, we had a changing of the administration in Frankfurt on the 8th of December. I got a call, gosh, I can't remember.
Tuesday.
I believe somewhere in that neighborhood called just 48 hours or something in that regard. No, I guess maybe 3 days prior to the changing of the guard, and we had asked for some special consideration from the governor's budget to earmark some money for roads and bridge improvements. We had told the governor's office months ago, last year actually, that we'd suffered 3 separate FEMA disaster declarations. Gary, I believe one in 2015. We had February, March, and April, I believe. And those disasters were still open whenever we suffered the debilitating and horrendous flooding out on 172. And it cost us several $100,000 to try to repair those roads, and FEMA hadn't even been there to offer any help yet. So we asked the governor's office if there was any chance of getting some kind of discretionary funding or whatever money might be available with transportation or wherever, if they could consider Johnson County, given the circumstances that we'd been involved in, and especially that flash flooding. And we got a call at the 11th hour, if you would, as Paul said. I think it was about 3 days before the transfer of power. And they told me that if we could have a special emergency meeting, adopt a resolution wherein that we were accepting, they were offering the money, and we would accept the money if offered to us to perform necessary maintenance of work on the roads and bridges and so forth. We didn't have time to notify the press on an emergency meeting in that regard. I called for the radio station, Dawn up on the hill, and got a message. I advised to have somebody call me back, and that, I don't know what reason, but it didn't happen. I called the Paintsville Herald and spoke with Paula and told Paula what we were up against, and we were going to have to try to get this emergency meeting done. And I told her the purpose of it was for just what I explained, that they were telling us they're going out of office in 2 or 3 days. If we can get the paperwork down there to them, they're going to allocate some money to us. And she said she understood. I told her as soon as we got everything done, we'd have copies of the minutes and everything that you guys could look at it, and which we did. We had the meeting. I hand carried the resolution down to Frankfurt the following day. Got it to them. They got it out on Friday before Tuesday. We got the mail. We got the thing in the mail about the same day that of course we had a copy of it, electronic copy of it. We got the original signed document back from DOT the day before the transfer of power. So we have an allocation of $209,000 on from the governor's budget, his personal discretionary funds that was payable through the DOT. We're extremely happy that they were able to do that. We certainly thank Secretary Hancock at the cabinet, and certainly thank Governor Beshear for remembering that we had made those requests and for being able to try to do something at the last hour. And we do appreciate that. But that is the nature. I just wanted the President to understand that's the nature of why we did what we did. We've never done anything of that nature before, but I did call Franklin and talk to the attorneys there, and they said that would be fine. So we had the special meeting, and we passed it, and now we have an allocation, and when the weather breaks, we'll be able to do some road work, thank goodness. Having said that, good money, Jim. Next item on the agenda is the approval of monthly bills. You have the bills, I think, before you that, and some that we just got in. I think you've had a chance to look at those. Is there any changes at in the bills as submitted? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the monthly bills.
Motion to approve payment of the monthly bill.
Have a motion by Commissioner Gamble to pay the bills. Addie, is there any extraordinary bills here? Is it just a normal course of doing business?
Just the usual.
Okay.
Get some FEMA projects in there that was kind of.
Oh, yes, yeah. Do you want to comment on any particular one?
Well, just in several roads there, just.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they've already been done, just payments.
Yeah, we're very pleased. It took us quite a while, honestly. As I mentioned before, we had 3 disasters declared that we had not even, FEMA hadn't even begun to write PWs on until we had the flash flood. And they were able to work really hard. We've been lucky enough to have the same FEMA guy on all 4 of these disasters. And I think he has written all the PWs associated with those first 3 things and got them closed as far as they're concerned. They've been written, and we're in the process. We've done most of the work, but in the process, get other work done that might be necessary to get paid. And then he's also told me Friday that he hoped to have all of the PWs associated with the flash flooding completed by this weekend, or the following weekend. So we're pleased that they've been able to do an awful lot of work.
I'll clarify, I think I said that wrong. It didn't come in high, I'm just saying.
It's a lot higher bill level of payments than what we had. Yeah, that's true. And that it'll continue to be that way until we get all these things worked out. So did we have a motion? And I need a second. Second by Commissioner Daniel. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is transfers from the sheriff's office. You have the transfers listed there, $9,700 worth. $100 moving out of the travel budget to dues account. $1,500 from travel budget to uniforms. $100 from travel to training and benefits. $6,000 from gasoline to police equipment and supplies, and $2,000 from gasoline to office equipment and supplies for $9,700. You have any questions or?
Move to approve transfer.
Motion by Commissioner Daniel to approve the opposed? Motion carries. Next item is an amendment to the budget by the sheriff. Have adjustments or amendments totaling $6,438.94 to include unbudgeted receipts from the CLEF program of $3,364, sale of a car for $1,234, a lake grant for $1,340, and the sale of surplus equipment for $500. And those changes would go into the account code 5015-101, sheriff's gross salary $663, police equipment and supplies in the amount of $2,776, and vehicle maintenance and repairs of $3,000. Have any questions about those amendments? If not, I'll have a motion. Commissioner Adams. Second by Commissioner Gamble. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is the approval of the clerk's third quarter report. You have that report in item number 6. You have the summary numbers, budget estimate of for year to date from the beginning of the budget, $6,172,275, as compared to actual of $4,816,884. Total disbursements are 4453.020. Book balance is $363,864. Bank statement balance is $342,292. Outstanding checks, deposit in transit of $41,918. Outstanding checks of $20,346, and reconciled bank balance of $363,864. You have those items broken down into various line items. I think 5 pages of all of that. Not necessarily read the entire amount, Mike.
No, I think so.
Okay. You have any questions about the quarterly report?
Move to approve the quarterly report.
Motion by Commissioner Daniel to approve the quarterly report for the clerk. Second by Commissioner Gamble. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the first reading of the clerk's budget. I think you have that budget before you, and I think it is not a whole lot different from previous reports by the clerk. I know she's worked especially hard trying to reduce operating costs under, and so we appreciate that so much. That's something that I think everybody is completely aware of now in Eastern Kentucky as well as across the state. I know the new governor is certainly aware of the problems that face him with his budget process as he settles into a brand new job. I made the comment to somebody that based on what I had heard about Frankfurt, or coming out of Frankfurt in the monies that are involved in the billions of dollars in shortfall for the pension plans and millions upon millions that they are expecting to have to come up with for continuing Obamacare, health care, that everybody's in the same quandary, whether it's in Washington at the federal level or Frankfurt at the governor's level or Johnson County or the local governments. I think everybody's in the same boat nowadays, and that is there's just not enough money to go around. And those people who have tried to be good stewards of the public money are a little better off than some others. It's never easy when you're trying to operate in this climate, this day and time, because you got two choices when you're facing a new budget preparation process, and 99% of the time your costs of doing business are going up. Your revenue streams, in our case, are going down. It doesn't take rocket science to realize that you can't continue that forever. We have been very fortunate here in Johnson County. I think from everything you guys have read and heard and seen on TV around the state and on the national news over the last few years, it's been gloom and doom, and it's not over. It's not even begun to be over. And we're faced with trying to get through another year with less money than what we've had in the past, and without doing any more harm to the services that we're providing than necessary. One of the problems that we have faced, certainly at a lesser level than what they faced in Frankfurt with regard to fringe benefits, is, and we've talked to the sheriff's office about that the last two budget cycles at least. We've talked to the clerk about it, and one item is fringe benefits. Fringe benefits is one of the fastest growing costs to all counties, I guess, and local governments. Our pension rates, I think this year that we have to reimburse the state for employees, county employees that work in the county employees retirement system. 17.6, it's almost 18%. So if you're talking, somebody makes $30,000 in your office, and you're talking about the employer's cost of that pension, paying that pension benefit, and we don't have any choice. We're mandated by the legislature, bless their little heart. They've seen fit to mandate that local governments must pay all of those payments when they're billed. They didn't pass that same legislation for themselves. They have their own legislation that creates their own pension plan, and they're a whole lot better off than any other group down there for payment so far as payment is concerned. But if you take somebody making 30 grand, like I said, the employer's part of the office that they're working out of, that additional cost would be over $5,000 for the part of the cost that is mandated by law. Now, I don't know what's the employees put in. Do you remember?
5%.
And they kept that 5% for employees ever since we've been in this pension plan. Employers' part of the cost started out at 5%, and now it's up to 18%. That did go almost to 20 here 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, they lowered it this past year.
So we're talking about a tremendous amount of money for a $30,000 salary if you just use gross numbers for pension is, what, we paid $700,
$680.
yeah, $600 or $700 a month. And that's $7,000 or $8,000 right there. So you're talking about a chunk of money, if you add your pension benefit plus your health insurance benefit, you're talking $12,000 to $14,000, depending upon the nature or the cost of the employee's salary. Well, I'm not talking about that. I mean, that's another 7.6%, I believe. There's a ton of other fringes that have to go on. I'm just talking about the two major drivers of these costs that people just can't afford. You just can't continue to pay that. Like I said, when we started out with the pension plan at 5%, and now it's 4 times higher to pay the employer's costs. We just can't do that. Not forever. And we told the clerk, we have been doing that. There's been a lot of confusion apparently by some people that don't realize that the county has been paying, the fiscal court has been paying those fringe benefits for a long time. And we've told the office holders we can't do this forever. We're not looking at shutting down, or we would have. We've had a lot of county governments around the state that have said we just can't do it. We're not going to do it, and they've gone ahead and taken action not to supplement those payments anymore. We haven't done that yet, and hopefully we won't have to, but you never know. I make that point to emphasize that we're no different. We're no different than anybody else. We have the same problems that other counties have. We've dealt with them, I think, in some regard, as well as, or better than a lot of other people have, but I give credit for that to the commissioners here for good stewardship, trying to stretch a dollar as far as they possibly can. And I think for their efforts and for what they do. I'm encouraging the clerk and the sheriff today, as we look at their budgets for the first time, to understand where we're going. And it's not a matter of if we're going to get there, it's when we're going to get there. But the day's coming, we're not going to be able to continue to pay the full amount of fringe benefits for those 2 officers that we paid in the past. We will do as good as we can to ameliorate this agony or pain as much as we can, but it's coming. It is coming. And I ask you to be aware of that and be prudent in your actions and do the best you can do. Having said that, the clerk's initial budget for 2016, she shows receipts, registration of voters, $9,000, licenses and transfers, $760,000, child victim fund, $200, usage tax, $2,751,964, lien release, $12,780, tangible property, $1,850,000, miscellaneous income, $14,987, fish and game licenses, $6,700, marriage licenses, $78.81, deed transfer fees or taxes, $34,853, delinquent taxes, $400,000, bail bonds, $110,000, chattel mortgages and financing statements, $58,000, deeds, $11,793, leases, $11,985, liens and less pardons. How do you pronounce that, Michael? Okay, pendants. That's $5,000. Power of attorneys, $1,720. Releases, $6,700. Real estate mortgages, $23,900. Miscellaneous recordings, $43.75. Wills and estate settlements, $727. Housing Authority Trust Fund, $21,294. Candidate filing fees, $40. Passport, $5,425. Copies, $7,128. Postage, $25. Refunds and overpayments, $7,222. Interest earned, $1,700. Total revenues, $6,015,584. Now that is the amount of revenues that passes through the clerk's office on an annual basis. Disbursements are on the following pages. Licenses and transfers, $490,000. Usage tax, $2,716,000. Ad valorem tax distribution is $845,300. Licenses, fish and game, $15,000. Delinquent taxes, $65,000. Legal process, $25,000. Affordable housing, $30,000. Ad valorem, $175,000. Delinquent, $30,000. Delinquent deed transfer, $30,000. Ad valorem, $565,000. Delinquent taxes, $207,000. Payments to the sheriff for delinquent tax, $7,100. Payments to county attorney, $55,000. Total required payments of $5,255,400. Clerk's final settlement, $760,175. Total disbursements, $761,175. For a grand total of disbursements for $6,015,684. Sally, it looks like you've done some housekeeping, trying to save some money, cut back on some items, and we appreciate that. We have listed line item expenses for deputies and salaries, clerk expenses, training expenses, lease payments of $115,000, recording fees of $13,000, I'm sorry. Transfers, $5,000, equipment purchase and tax bill preparation, $13,000, and reimbursements, refunds, and washout, $10,000, for a total of line item expenses $643,791. The cap on salary for this for 2016 is $355,000. Is there any other things that we missed, or anything the court wants to bring up? Salaries, or anything, if you want any comment?
We went over our line items on our disbursements, and we cut out $102,000, we cut it back $102,000, so we've shaded it as far as we can right now, I think. I hope that it'll work for us, but that's what we've done.
Well, and we appreciate that. I hope it does too. You keep hoping that things are gonna get better, but to have an economy the way we've got here in Eastern Kentucky, and to be especially impacted by the administration of the current president for the last 8 years.
We've got a lot of people suffering this.
I've never seen anything like it. I don't think anybody ever expected it. Of course, he said what he was going to do when he got elected, or if he got elected, and he's doing just exactly what he said he was going to do. But how do you take a culture, an entire culture of people, and you take a way of life, which has been coal mining for 100 and some years here, and you say, I'm going to shut it down, I'm not going to let it happen anymore, and literally set about doing that, and then being successful in what you're doing. And when Eastern Kentucky depends on coal to the extent that we do as an economic survival tool, and when you've lost 7,000 jobs or more just here in our local economy, mining jobs, and you tack on 3.5 jobs roughly estimated to be supplemental jobs by the coal industry, when you had those losses, you're looking at 25,000 or 30,000 jobs scattered throughout Eastern Kentucky, and most of those jobs, mining jobs, were pretty good jobs. They were some of the higher paid jobs we had. And when you take all that money out of the economy, you just can't get it back. And we got a lot of families suffering, and we're trying to do everything we can do raise taxes. We have not raised taxes since we've been in office. As a matter of fact, we've actually cut taxes, reduced taxes 4 or 5 times since we've been in office. And we're able to continue to tighten the budget in some other ways to be able to survive as long as we have without taking some drastic measures. I read in the paper all the time and look around us at other counties and local governments and see that you're talking about some tax proposals tripling property taxes and doubling and instituting new occupational taxes in some cases, and in some cases doubling those kinds of taxes. It's a never-ending process, because like I said, when governments are faced with financial difficulties, they got 2 choices. They either cut their expenses or they raise their revenue. And we all know it's not easy to raise revenue. So, unless you tax somebody. And there's a declining tax base. There's fewer and fewer people out there that is paying taxes because a lot of them don't have a job. So it makes it harder and harder. It's a catch-22 situation for them. So, having said all that, Sal, we appreciate everything you've done and are trying to do here. And thank you for that. Anybody have any questions?
Looks like an overall total difference between last year's budget and this year's budget for salaries is $156,700.
Yep.
We appreciate that.
Any other discussion? On what's the pleasure of the court with regard to the first reading of the have a motion to approve the first reading
Second.
and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is the transfers for fiscal court. Here's another thing that drives me crazy, $40,000 transfer from the jail fund to the general fund, or vice versa, from the general fund to the jail fund. We just talked to our auditor today, going through the audit they just completed, and they were patting us on the back and telling us we did a good job and we don't have any findings and all that. And then we get over to that part and when you look at how much we're spending to incarcerate prisoners, it just staggers your imagination to think that we're spending that much money. And of course it's required by law. There's nothing we can do. We have no choice. So there just seems to be, I don't know, it's an anomaly, I think, that governments have put themselves in this situation. They have all the benefits of home. The $40,000 transfer is a matter of record. As I said, that's a monthly thing we have to do. We have no choice, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the transfer.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Campbell, second by Commissioner Adams. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Next item is update on road department equipment for 2015. I think you guys recognize about three years ago, we started looking at some of our equipment, our road department equipment, especially salt spreaders and snow plows. We're starting to get a little age on them, And dealing with salt and that nature of the business, there's a lot of corrosion, a lot of rusting that goes on. Those vehicles don't last as long as other vehicles do. And so we started trying to talk to Frankfurt about ways to maybe see if there was funding available to help improve our road department equipment needs. And we submitted several requests for money, and we're never able to work it out. This year we were able to. They earmarked $15,000 for us, or $75,000. I take that back, for road equipment, and those are earmarked dollars we can't spend anywhere else. And we ordered and just received 2 brand new snow plows and salt spreaders that were delivered down at the road department, and another fleet vehicle, a 3rd fleet vehicle, that we are certainly indebted to Department of Local Government and Transportation Cabinet and those people that were available and helped make this thing happen. We never know whenever you apply for money. Regina and Gary, she makes a living at that, whenever she fills out these applications and sends them in, and it's kind of like sending a list to Santa Claus. It's a wish list, and you hope you get your wish, but you know you're not going to get it all. But you feel good sometimes when it happens, and I know she makes that, has that same feeling from time to time. But we were fortunate to be able to buy 2 new pieces of equipment to help. We got about 300 miles of county roads in Johnson County. This new equipment will help us better take care of the maintenance on those roads, and hopefully will provide safer travel for Johnson County's citizens. And we appreciate that so much. And I just want to publicly thank all those agencies that might have been involved in any way of trying to help us in that regard. So, you guys, I noticed, all went down to look at that equipment when it came in, so I'm glad you had a chance to see it. Next item is the sheriff's budget. Wayne, I noticed your budget is fairly similar to the budget last time. Not a lot of difference in the expenses of the revenue. Of course, we appreciate that. I mean, we know you guys are like everybody else. You're trying to make do with less money all the time. But we do appreciate that, every effort you make. Hopefully, I can't see how much further this decline in the economy is going. It's got to make a turn at some point in time. I don't know if it's going to do it in our term as far as being in public office, but it just is becoming harder and harder and harder all the time, as you guys know. Your budget estimate for receipts is $575,485. You're proposing the same number of disbursements, which zeroes out $575,485. Your receipts from grants is $9,500. Finance Administration Cabinet is $123,000. Cabinet for Human Resources is $30,000. Sheriff Security Services $9,000. Fines and fees $3,000. Fiscal Court $10,294. County Clerk $40,000. Delinquent local against. Commissions on taxes collected $263,000. Telecommunications tax distribution $2,300. Sheriff's add-on penalty $30,000. Auto inspections $7,000. Accident police reports $2,100. Serving papers $32,000. CCDW $8,500. Fingerprints $600. Transporting prisoners $5,000. Interest earned $100. for total revenues of $575,465. Your expenses, sheriff gross salary $90,000, deputy's gross salary is $277,000, part-time gross $120,900, overtime gross $9,000, advertising $1,000, vehicle maintenance $15,000, office materials and supplies $8,000, uniforms $2,000, gasoline $40,000, police equipment $4,500, corrections $1,500, dues $1,000, postage $725, travel expense $2,000, computer expense $1,000, and bonds $1,700, for a total expenses of $575,485. And you have a listing of your employees' salaries and part-time salaries and vacation sick leave of $407,060. And you have a breakdown of your employees and salaries with your equipment or with your budget. Is there any questions of the court? Like I said, your numbers are not a whole lot different from last year. We appreciate everything you guys are trying to do. I know it's not easy. Anything from the court, any questions or anything you guys would like, any comments or whatever?
I think I don't get last year about $2,500 in it, Joseph.
What's the pleasure of the court? I entertain a motion at this time to approve the first reading of the sheriff's budget.
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Daniel,
Second.
second by Commissioner Gamble. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the rescue affiliation agreements between the county and Rock House and W.R. Castle Rescue Squad. We do this on an annual basis, I think, don't we, Gary?
That's correct, Judge.
Nothing's changed. As a matter of information, one thing that has changed in our rescue efforts this year, I think every one of you are probably aware of the fact that the rescue squad is now defunct. Had some very difficult times out there the last several months, and finally the people that were involved just kind of left, skipped the county, and when we went in, there wasn't a whole lot left. Some equipment, a lot of the equipment was in bad shape and needed repair. We had never been exposed to that kind of a circumstance before. County attorney contacted the Kentucky Attorney General's office. They sent a couple of guys up here finally. They was up here a couple, 3 times, and we talked to them, I don't know how many times. And they were the ones that had to carry the ball on this thing, and they filed a motion finally after Mike prodded them a lot. It seemed like every other week was having to try to call and ask them to keep moving on this thing. And they finally got motions filed and signed that declared the rescue squad defunct. When they left, as I said, with very little assets, and they left with equipment in pretty bad state of affairs and some pretty substantial debt. The court named a receiver. It's pretty much like a bankruptcy, I guess. And Mike said he didn't think they were gonna get all this done anywhere close to a timely manner if we didn't try to volunteer to do it locally. So he asked me if I'd serve as receiver, and he submitted that motion to the circuit judge. And the circuit judge signed that document, and now we're trying to accumulate as much information and records as we can about exactly what's out there, what do they own, what don't they own, what's encumbered by liens, how much are these assets worth, how much are their debts that are owed, and whether or not there's going to be anywhere close to sufficient. If you sell the assets, are you going to get anywhere close to the money you're going to need to pay the debts? But we're in the middle of that process right now. It's been going on now for several months, and Mike and my office staff and I've been involved talking to a lot of people. USDA has a lien, probably that probably outranks the other liens out there on the rest of the equipment on 2 pieces of equipment, and we've set out for bids, and we've already awarded bids on. There's another company that has some liens on some other equipment, and Mike has filed the action with the court to have those people claim the property that they have under lien, and then we're trying to dispose of everything else. So that's about where we are. Is there anything you can add to that?
Other than we got another bill today.
Pardon?
Other than the new bill we got it today.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he just walked in and handed me another bill for about $5,000 we didn't know about. So we'll have to try to review all these things and see whether or not,
Who gets paid, who don't.
yeah. But the beat goes on, looks like. But Johnson County's in good shape, actually, because we do have these 2 other fire departments that are, in fact, fire and rescue, so they can provide rescue services the same as they've always done. And as we noticed in the flash flooding, one of the things that really impressed me as much as anything on the response is within just 2 or 3 hours, seems like, of that flood hitting, and with that severe fast water problem out there where those houses were all washed away. There were counties up there, you had 3 or 4 counties that didn't have rescue squads here in Johnson County on scene in that water trying to save lives. And that's just something that's the nature, I think, of that fraternity of first responders, and we're so blessed in Johnson County to have first responders that we have. The people that are dedicated, that are skilled, they can do what needs to be done, and God bless them for everything that they do, and I appreciate it. And we've certainly conveyed to all these other counties how much we thank them for their help and assistance, and offered the same response from us. And if should they ever need it, I'm sure we'll be there just the same as they were. So it's important that we continue to have fire departments that want to provide rescue services as well. And WR and Rock House, and how long has this been going, Gary? 5, 6, 7 years or more?
Probably over 15 years.
Has it been that long?
Yeah, it's been a long
I
time.
know it's been a long
Yeah.
time, I just didn't realize how long.
It's been a long time.
But we do appreciate that, and I'm asking the court's permission right now to sign the affiliation agreement, which is the same language that we propose every year, and that we've done every year. A motion by Commissioner Adams. Second by Commissioner Daniel. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Craig, you need these tonight, or
Yeah, I'll get
First
them
thing
after
tomorrow.
the meeting. I'll get them after the
Addie,
meeting.
I'm sure we'll have to have Sally probably stamp those for.
Okay.
Next item on the agenda, we have another jail board vacancy out there that I need to fill. I have talked to several people, and I'm recommending at this time that we fill the vacancy, this vacancy by appointing Zach Branham. Zach is a supervisory personnel with Worldwide Equipment. He manages people, he manages a lot of pretty high-end budget items, and he knows business, runs one of the very productive parts of one of the shops for Worldwide Equipment, and recommend him at this time. Have a motion by Commissioner Adams to approve the appointment of Zach Branham to the jail board.
Second.
And a second by Commissioner Daniel. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, well, that's all. We have Gary, is there anything that you need to bring up? We have your activity report here.
Nothing else to it.
Anything else to come before the court this time?